Kaja Israel, Kaba Egypt, Kaja Ethiopia, Kaja Sudan, Waja Shong. Kaja Ikushima, you know, Wanime Kona, me Waja Shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, you know, Waja Shong. Waja Jake, Waja Shong. Manchester, no Sumanguru, you know, walk where they get, what you're shown. What's that to do, you know, Wamasa, you know, Yasan, you know, what you're shown. Kaja Israel, Kaba Egypt, Kaja Ethiopia, Kaja Sudan, what you're shown. Akwaka, Bachimo, one year, Afo, Karacha, I catch my 1 year, and in young fang. Akwaka, Bachimo, 1 year, Afo, Karacha. I get you 1 year, I'm a young thing. I'm a Caminian Matu, I'm a Caonian Motu, I'm a Caonian Matumo. I'm a Caminian Matu, I'm a Caonian Motu, I'm a Caonian Matumo.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada Dada. And then he left home menu. My son, this is a setup. You was Spain, oh yes. I Spain most any sicker free ha Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a farmer of a baby farm round. Oh, that be my son, would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia. Also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through tap send to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. But don't take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's tap send.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of the Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. My name is Emmanuel Kwesi-Kwesi, now known as Nana Kwesi-Kwesi I of Ahanta Traditional Area and the diaspora. Tonight, we are here to discuss issues that has come to light as a result of some changes to immigration rules and what it takes to be a student and what it takes to convert from being a student to becoming a skilled worker and what we are going to have to deal with the new law that has come into effect. We have our very own specialist on the field who in many years has been with us and has educated us on a number of issues as it happens. He drew my attention to the issue of the day, and we decided today to get back to the community and give you the education you need so you can make well-informed choices. This program is put together with the help of Ghana Union, the Western Regional Association of Nurses, UK, the Ghanaian Nightingale Nurses Association, UK, and of course, Ghana Nurses Association, UK. It is supported by Ghana High Commission, and of course, sponsored by the Tap Send. Tap Send, your #1 money transfer company to Ghana. All your needs in one place. You send and you get there, no e-levy, no charges, no sideways. So we will go straight this evening to introduce our special guest tonight. Our guest is by no means our very own lawyer, Bernard Owusu of BWF Solicitors, a qualified lawyer who has been in practice for a number of years, experience, there is second to none, and knowledge, there is second to none. When it comes to community issues, this man, I've brought here today, as many of you would have met, is somebody that is passionate about the Ghanaian community and does his job for us and with us with distinction. Tonight, I'm privileged to have lawyer Bernard Owusu of BWF Solicitors with us to explain where are we going, and what has happened when it comes to immigration law. Lawyer Bernard, if you can hear me, please, it's now your turn to take over, and as always, do us proud. I think you're muted, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Nana, and good evening to everyone. I am most grateful to be part of today's discussion. You know that the Ghana Union and the forum, the community forum, is a tool which really has helped the community on various aspects of our community lives. And it's important that when something of the nature that happened last week happens, we bring it to people's knowledge. Even as of today, people are not aware and they were doing the same wrong things that they said we shouldn't do. What I'll do is that I will share my screen and then we will take it from there. So, yeah. Okay. So what we're going to discuss today is the new immigration rules, which obviously put exceptions to student switching. So let me bring you up to speed. Prior to last week, Monday, so even last week, Monday, up until 2:59 p.m., so 2 p.m., 59 minutes, you could come here as a student today. You could enroll in a course or not enroll. But once you're here as a student, you can switch to skilled migrant program. Most of you would have heard many people come in and fail to attend their colleges or universities, and yet are able to switch. That was the mode what people were using. If we cast our minds back about 3 months ago, a Nigerian blogger did a blog which I think really went viral. He was then subsequently interviewed. I don't know whether it was Sky or one of the premier TVs. And, he let the cat out that, people were coming here as students and switching. And obviously, it was picked on by the government. I think on the 23rd of May, the government made announcements that, it was going to change the rules to bar students from switching and also bring in their dependents. We all assume as conventioners that, if they were going to do it, there would be notice. Usually would have been placed in Parliament for about 21 days. That would have given ample notice to people to switch if they wanted to. Unfortunately, we had the announcement at 3 p.m. and then from that time, students were barred. So what is the rule? The rule is that if you are here as a student, then clearly there are certain requirements that you ought to meet. And the requirements are that you must be a student, you must have enrolled, and if you've been given a CAS, which is a certificate of sponsorship from the universities or colleges for you to be a student, then clearly it must be at the end of that period before you can switch. So this is what I've just said. UK government suddenly decided to change the rules. And this is what they've introduced. So the explanatory statement, which was published on the 17th, clearly stated why they were doing this. And the rules were to do with the students switching. So what it said is that the students' route and the consequential changes came into effect at 3 p.m. on the 17th. That means that if you're currently in the UK, you must meet one of the following requirements before you can switch. Just remember that when these people were coming, when the students were coming, this wasn't the rules they paid for. But as you know, immigration is always a hot cake, and politicians have used it as a political football. to show who's the toughest on immigration or migrants. Then that's coming. So there are three broad areas which prevents you from switching. The first one is that you should have completed your course of study which you were sponsored for. The second area is that your job start must be after you finish your education. And if you're very clever, like some of our compatriots, and you're studying for your PhD, then you've studied your PhD for at least 2 years, you can switch to skilled migrant route. And then it doesn't end there. It goes on to say that, first of all, you cannot switch if you're in the UK as a visitor or the short-term student visa. There's different types of student visa. There's a student visitor, and then there's a short-term student visa, which is usually for 6 months to enable people to come and do short courses like English language. If you're a parent of a child, of a student, or parents of children who are in the UK going to school can come and live here up to the age of 13. And, you know, they will be here supporting the children. You cannot switch. If you're a seasonal worker, because we've got agricultural seasonal workers who come in certain times of the year, you cannot switch. If you're a domestic worker in a private household, which is a topic I treated today, again, you cannot switch. If you're on immigration bail means that you've not been admitted into the UK, but you've been given bail, the Secretary of State's bail or the court bail, again, you cannot switch. The most controversial of all of this is if you were given permission to stay outside the immigration rules, for example, on compassionate grounds, then you cannot switch. And that is a bit troubling. I will come to that later. Now, most students will come here with their dependents. And a dependent is someone who is your partner, a spouse, or your child. And this partner should have been your partner before you came here as a student. So usually the dependents will come with you. They are allowed to do other work. You are only set and fixed into the work that you were sponsored to come and do, or do part-time in a similar profession or occupation. So if you came here as a carer, you can do care work for another care company. Although they've changed the rules, you can now do full-time for another care company. But up until, I think, April this year, you can only do 20 hours outside your main sponsorship work. Within this broad outline of restrictions, there's something that people haven't looked at. Students who are coming or starting from January next year will not be able to sponsor their dependents to come with them. So when I first came to this country, I lived with a lot of PhD students. Most of them were lecturers at either University of Ghana or University of Science and Technology, and they were all here with their wives. Now, from January, those people starting courses cannot switch. The rules, the way it's been drafted, appears that dependents can switch, and those already here, those students who are already here, their dependents can switch. So that is what the rule is. So if you came here with your wife or your husband, your wife or your husband can switch from a student dependent to a skilled migrant. But we'll look at the rules as to whether you can switch once they've switched. There were initial confusion about whether those people who are students with their dependents, if the dependent switches, whether you can also switch. I don't want to take the wind out of the sail. When we get there, we'll discuss it. And then we have this. So the following people can come to UK as dependent to join a person who has been granted permission in one of the routes listed above. And these are spouses, which I've mentioned. So a spouse would be somebody that you're married to. Civil partners, Ghana, we don't have this, but other countries do, Brazil and other countries, usually will be same-sex partners. Partners who are not married or in a civil partnership. So this will be what we typically refer to common law relationship. So mpena, laimumu or whatever it's called. So your girlfriend that you've been in a permanent relationship with. So those people are allowed to come, but you have to show that the relationship exists. And then you've got dependent children who are under 18 at the date of application. This is crucial. So if Kofi is turning 18 tomorrow, but today he's 17 years, 362 days, then Kofi can switch today and join you. But if he turns 18, then he can. If you bring Kofi and Kofi turns 18 here, as far as Kofi remains your family member, dependent family member, then Kofi will remain your dependent. And as a dependent, he can switch. So Kofi came here as a student dependent. Kofi is now 21. He came as 17 years plus. He's now 21. Kofi can switch. Your wife or your husband can switch. These are the people who can switch, your dependents. And then we look at the restrictions in detail. So I've intentionally copied the law so that we don't get any of those confusion that started last week, Monday, where, we had some agents who were saying, oh, lawyer, I heard that, if I'm a student and I brought my wife, although I cannot switch now, if my wife switches, I can also join her or switch to become a partner. As I speak to you today about 12 o'clock, somebody approached me. They attempted to do that. And both applications were rejected. Both the main applicant, who will be his wife, who was a dependent, and the husband have been rejected. And this is some of the nuances that we want to bring to the knowledge of our community. Because when you make your application, you have a protection under the law. We call it Section 3C of the 1971 Immigration Act. So if your application, your leave expires today, and before midnight, you made your application, and your leave expires at the Home Office, you're not illegal in the UK. You are protected. Before, we used to call it VOLU, Variation of Leave Order, 1976. That obviously has changed to Section 3C of the 1971 Immigration Act, which merely says that if somebody makes the application in time means you made the application before your leave expired, then your leave will be deemed to continue up until a decision is made. And when a decision is made, if you've got a right to administrative review or you've got a right to appeal, then your leave will continue until that appeal is exhausted. So when you come to the immigration rules, we have something called paragraph 38E. Paragraph 38E of the immigration rules is what gives you that continuity of residence. So although your leave had expired once your application was at the Home Office, because of the protection of 3C, your leave will be deemed to have continued. The relevance of this is if somebody lives here continuously for 10 years legally as a student, and then maybe switch to something else, and there's been continuity of residence without any break, the person will qualify under paragraph 276 AD as a long resident applicant without any break. So it's crucial that applications are made before your leave expires. And if you don't understand this rule and you stick an application in, hoping that the application you sent to the Home Office will protect you, they are not going to refuse you, but they will reject you. There's a difference between rejection and refusal. A rejection of application is not a refusal, so it does not give you a statutory right of appeal or administrative review. It means your application has been rejected. There's no protection under paragraph 38E of the immigration rules. And these are nuances that we must all understand. That is why it is crucial that from today, we let our people, because there are many Ghanaian students here, some are government sponsored, some are here with family sponsorship. Family heirlooms have been sold to bring them to be educated. Some of them have struggled to pay their fees, so they found a switching as an alternative to switch, work, and pay their way through university. Obviously, that cannot happen anymore. These are the restrictions on student switching. And then we go to the main thing that I've been discussing. And the condition A and the condition B are very detailed, and I'll take my time to read it. When you see SW, it means skilled worker. So the SW comes as an appendix to the immigration rules, just like V, which is a visitor, or FM, appendix FM, which would be family route. These are particular laws that have been couched for specific areas of the immigration rules, and they apply to each area. It may be specific, it may be general. But let's look at appendix SW 26.4a. An applicant who is applying for permission to stay and has or last had permission as a student, very crucial. So first of all, you are applying for permission to stay. Now, when somebody is applying for permission to stay, the implication or the inference is that a person is physically in the UK. It's a difference between permission to enter or entry clearance and permission to stay or leave to remain. So the nuance should be determined, and it determines who can make this application and who can't. I will start again. An applicant who is applying for permission to stay and has or last had permission as a student must fulfill one of the conditions A or B below on the date of application. The reason why this is crucial is that when you want to switch, you first of all are employed by a license or a sponsor. The sponsor will issue something called COS. The COS, the long name is Certificate of Sponsorship. It will be issued on an SMS, which is a sponsor management system. They will issue you with a certificate which comes with a unique number, which will be specific to you. That is how the process starts. That is not affected by this. But once you've gotten that, you have to make an application to stay. If you were a student, because they said if you were last had leave as a student or permission as a student, then you must fulfill A or B. The A is that the applicant must have completed the course of study for which the confirmation of acceptance for studies was assigned. Certificate of acceptance, which is the CAS, the CAS, is similar to the COS. They are both issued by sponsors, and they are both issued by sponsors who have license to sponsor migrants to the UK. So that the fact that they've issued you with a COS, if you don't meet the rule, then A will catch you. B, the applicant must be studying a full-time course of study leading to a PhD with a higher education provider which has a track record of compliance. And now in law, when you read and you see and or comma, it's different from or, because the and is an additional requirement to the one that you've just read. So when you look at A, it stands alone, but there's or, which means that A and B are alternatives. But when you look at B, there's BI and there's BII. And when you look at BI, at the end of BI, although there's a semicolon there, the word end. So it means that the two paragraphs must be read together for you to understand the import of that particular law. So I'll start again. Condition B, the applicant must be studying a full-time course of study leading to the award of a PhD with a higher education provider which has a track record of compliance and have completed at least 24 months of study on that course. What they're saying is that only PhD students can switch to become skilled migrant, even if they haven't finished with their PhD. But the caveat is that they should have been studying for 24 months. So if you're a PhD student and you've been studying for 24 months, although you haven't finished your studies, you can still switch. And those are the nuances. So your first degree, your sixth form, your first degree, your second degree, which is your master's, you cannot switch even if you've done 2 years on the course. The only people who can switch when they've done 2 years is PhD students. And then the next slide, we look at the reasons for the changes. I did broach that topic, but this is the full detailed. This is what the Home Office said. The switching restrictions will ensure that students are generally not switching in country to another route until they have completed their courses. Students on courses at degree level or above will be able to apply before completion to switch to sponsored work route as long as their employment start date is not before their course completion. So this is what was causing the confusion. And people said, oh, they said we can even apply before we finish our course. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying somebody can employ you, but you cannot apply to remain with that person until the start date is after your course. When you enter the UK as a student, you are given a certificate of studies, which is a CAS. The CAS will have the duration of your course. If it says 1 year, then after 1 year, you can switch. If it says 2 years, then after 2 years, you can switch. If it says 3 years, then after 3 years, you can switch. But you can obtain employment, which will start after the end of the course. I haven't seen any employer who employs somebody who's to start in 3 years' time. It doesn't work. It might be months' time. So very likely those people who are about to finish in a few months may be able to obtain a certificate of sponsorship and wait till the end of the course to start. And then, so we've talked about problems, and lawyers, we prefer solutions, but you don't prefer solution without identifying the problem. So how do you get around this? Well, somebody will say, well, I will ask my wife or my husband to switch, and then I will join. No, you can't. Your wife can switch. Your son or your daughter can switch if they are at the required age of 18 plus, but you cannot switch. So the first thing to do is to complete your studies. That is the first thing. The second that I put there is to leave the UK and apply to return, because the emphasis is on applying for leave to remain. When you leave the UK and you haven't even completed your studies, when you're applying to come to the UK, you're not applying for leave to remain, you're applying for leave to enter. The law doesn't say leave to remain. So if we go back to what the law says, yes, it says here, SW 26.4a, an applicant who is applying for permission to stay. When you're outside, you're not applying for permission to stay. You're applying for permission to come. That is not captured. So the solution that I've preferred is that you leave the UK and return, and there's no restriction on you. Or you may consider Article 8, family and private life. If you're here as a student and you've got a partner and the partner is switched and you've got a child, there are certain requirements that you may fulfill. Either the child is 7 years here, the child is British, the child has got indefinite leave or has EU leave, but also where there's an exceptional requirement, you've got family life with your child. So you came here as a student, you've done 2 year studies, you've had a child with your wife is now switched, your child is switched. You say, well, I've got family life with my child, so I want to switch. The cost of that and the cost of leaving to apply is what you do the value and the benefit analysis. How much is it going to cost you to switch in country? Relying on Article 8, you will pay close to £3,000. How much will it cost you to apply from outside as a partner? It's about $280 or less than that. Your flight will be give and take, let's say $1,000. But it's faster and quicker, it's more predictable, and it's definitive. And for me, those are some of the solutions that I will give you. At this stage, I want to recap. Students who are students here and those coming cannot switch to skilled migrant route. The only students who can switch are students on PhD and have done the PhD for at least 24 months or 2 years, or students who are about to complete their studies and their employment starts after the studies, or students who have completed their studies. Somebody raised a novel point and he said, well, I'm a student. I came as a student, but my visa has been revoked and I was given 60 days to apply for something else. When you are here as a migrant and your visa is revoked, there's an inbuilt protection that gives you about 60 days to switch to another area. But you entered as a student, you haven't switched yet. So although your visa has been revoked, because you entered as a student, we go back to our law. Okay? It says an applicant who is applying for permission to stay and has or last had permission to stay as a student, that will catch you. So it was a very novel point the person raised, but your last leave was that of a student. So you're caught by SW 26.4a. The other point that I also want to raise is that the convention that the UK has is very critical to what we do as citizens and residents of UK. The UK hasn't got a written constitution. It depends on what we call convention usages and practices, similar to what we have in Ghana under our customary law. Because when you look at our constitution, they said the laws of Ghana are made up of the constitution, customary practices, usages, and then common law and judge-made law. In the UK, they have something similar. So we've got a convention. And that's why when Boris Johnson prorogued Parliament without going through the necessary processes, although it wasn't a written law, the court found that that was illegal. I am confident if somebody goes to court on this, because they didn't lay this before Parliament for 21 days following the convention, it is very likely that the law will be declared illegal. But until it's declared illegal, this is the law that we have. I will pause here. There are other updates that I want to bring. I think we've got about 13 more slides to go through. If somebody wants to ask me a question on this, I'm very happy to answer them before I move on to the next segment of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are not done yet. As Lawyer Bernard said, we have some more updates that he would like to go through. At this point, we will take a few-minute break. When we come back, if you have any questions, please, this is a time you can ask questions and get the right answers. Because as a community, I think we are used to the hearsay. Before you realize, you find yourself with some situations where you could have actually taken a different approach. So we will come back, and when we do, we will go back to some question and answers, and then the second part of it will be the other part of the update, which Lawyer Bernard will give us. We'll be back with you shortly.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son this is a setup you was Spain. Oh yes. I Spain was any sicker free ha. Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a me farm of a baby farm round. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through tap send to Ghana, and please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's tap send.
Welcome back, audience, to the Community Awareness Forum. Tonight, we've been going through some of the changes that has come to effect in relation to students and those who are otherwise in the learning area sectors, how they can switch from being a student to become a skilled worker. I want to recognize Jemima Annan from Fidelity Bank. We are going to have a lot of engagement with Fidelity Bank to come also and explain some of the things that Fidelity, the packages that they will have for us in due course. So it's good to see Anna, Jemima on the platform, listening to it. We have Tap Send sponsoring our program, getting us through the difficult challenges of bringing this program to you. I have to say, Bernard, I've been very supportive, and all the other speakers that have been here have been. But there are still behind the scenes calls that people don't take it to be. So we rely on the sponsors' support to get this done. Ghana High Commission for your support and endorsing this program, and of course Ghana Nurses Association, our chair lady. I'm looking at her very nicely. Thank you for your support. Ghana Nurses Association, Western Region Association of Nurses, Ghana Union, and Ghanaian Nightingale Association. At this stage, I'm going to go back to question and answers. If anybody has something that they want to bring quickly before Bernard moves on to the second sector section of the presentation. Bernard, if I may ask you, you did highlight some of the areas where, and the emphasis was on PhD. I think I got a little bit confused. So all of my question is, if you are here studying a first degree or a master's degree, which in most cases is a year program, when you do a sandwich course, you probably could get it up to 2 years, depending on how the course is structured. How does that affect you? Because it seems like the emphasis was more on those doing PhD and already have done it for 2 years. So could you take us through that sections a bit, please?
Okay, we all know PhD courses can take as long as 6 years.
Yes.
And anybody who's doing PhD is almost always considered an expert in their field. The UK government realizes that there are certain people with certain skills, they don't want to lose them. So
Right.
Once you've done the PhD, which most people will do within 2 years, there are some who may do it longer, you can then switch. Those are the only category of students who can switch before they complete their course. But it has to be a PhD course, and you should have done it for at least 24 months. Those are the little caveats on a PhD student switching. So you're still a student, but you're a PhD student, and you've done it for at least 2 years.
Right. So in effect, somebody doing a first degree that can last about 3 years, having done 2 years is not qualified. They just can't switch.
Absolutely. If you're doing your bachelor's, you have to complete the course
Right.
before you can switch. Yes.
Okay. There's a hand up, David Owusu. David Owusu, if you want to quickly come in, please, with your question.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Mine is now with switching to the skilled worker visa. Mine is I secured a scholarship from Ghana, and I'm currently pursuing my master's. But now the hearsay on the street is that I will need a clearance from the secretariat. However, I'm also informed that the school is my sponsor. And so I'm a bit confused about this. I really need clarification on this issue. If I'll need any clearance from the secretariat, or since the school is my sponsor and I'm done with the course, I can go ahead and apply for the postgraduate route for the 2 years. Thank you.
So anyone who has what we call a sovereign sponsorship or an international sponsorship, so it might be either the Ghanaian government, it might be the British government, because they sponsor you to go back and work for your country. You will need to be cleared. So every person who is here as a student cannot move away from that student status to skilled migrant if you're sponsored by a sovereign country or by international institution, like example, UNESCO, UN, the Commonwealth, and all those institutions. You will need clearance. In your case, it seems your scholarship is from your school, so you will not fall within the class of people who required clearance before they can switch. Okay.
Thank you, Bernard. I hope it helps, David Owusu, if you still want to need anything, but I hope the answer provided is sufficient. If not, I'm sure you can go and see Bernard in person, and I'm sure you can take you through one or two if you still lack a bit of understanding. There is an aspect that you talked about, dependents able to switch, but some of the actual people who actually brought those dependents cannot switch. Again, I was a bit confused there. I mean, immigration rules are always confusing, and I always respect lawyers who know the immigration rules very well, because sometimes if you don't get a good lawyer who knows it, they will lead you astray and find your application in a mess. It's the reason why a lot of Ghanaian cases in Home Office take so long, because from starting, it never started well. That is a fact. And then we go around scaring people. If you call Home Office, they will put your application from top to down. So a lot of people also have that perception. But I wanted you to clarify that aspect, because I was a bit confused. I can provide a sponsorship for somebody to come. They can come and then be able to switch, but I cannot. And the people that can do that, spouses and the others, if you can take us through that aspect, please. So I was a bit confused, maybe.
Okay, so you up until December this year, if you came here as a student, you are allowed to bring the wife or the husband that you had before you came. You can bring them. Now those have never been restricted. They can work, do whatever hours, they can change career anytime, but you are restricted and fixed into one employment.
Right.
If you came here as a student, they've given you the benefit of bringing your family, especially if you're a PhD student. They're very special students. Now, your dependent, which in this case will be your wife or your children, can switch.
Right.
But you cannot switch. Because the reason why you cannot switch is the regulation that we looked at, which is that your last leave was that of a student. Okay. They have never been students. They've always been student dependent. And they've specifically stated that they can switch, although from January next year, those who are coming cannot switch, which means that those who are still here, their dependents can still switch, even from January. And even from January, you cannot bring a dependent. So if you want to be a student here and you want to bring your wife or your husband or your kids, you've got up to December this year to do that, to come with them. Because from January, you cannot bring any of your dependents. And those are the nuances about this. We haven't got any more questions. I will move on to our next segment. And the next segment is also critical.
Bernard, if you don't mind, there's 2 hands up now.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to take them before you start the second
Yes,
segment.
I'll take them.
Kwasi, if you are still with us, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Then I will come to Martin Ajay.
All right. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. So I'm a completed student now, and then I was hoping to understand that in case you don't get like employment or a sponsor, what's another way that you can get, to switch after your graduate route is up?
So you are now a graduate, you're on a 2-year graduate route, right? Are you on a 2-year graduate route?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I'm afraid if you don't get a sponsor to help you switch, it means that at the time you will have to leave the UK, else you will overstay. Okay.
I think, yes, thank you. Martin Ajay.
Martin, yeah.
Martin, please. You may want to unmute yourselves.
Thank you very much, Nana. Quickly, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I think my question might have been answered by Bernard, but I'll go on. The person has completed the master's degree and has been given 2 years visa. So at the moment, the person is working. Now, at the end of the 2 years, what is the possibility that the person will be able to switch?
Yes, so if you look at the law, and that's why we went back to that particular section, I think I will take us there again, then that will help you understand. So this is what the law says, yes? And as paragraph SW 26.4a, it says that an applicant who is applying for permission to stay and has or last had permission as a student. So you must have or your last had, which means that your last visa must be a student or your current visa must be that of a student. If you're a graduate, you're on the graduate route, your last visa will be graduate route. So this doesn't catch you. The exception doesn't catch you. You are free to switch because you've already finished your course. You're on a graduate route, so you're not caught by this. Is that clear?
Okay.
Okay.
I guess that is fine. Martin, if you have something else, you can come back to us. Oh, I think his hand is. Martin, yes, Martin, please go ahead. You have to unmute yourself, please.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. I've got it. It's good. I've got the answer. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we'll go to the next session.
So we'll go to the next session.
Yes.
And this is critical. The last engagement we had was about new different areas of professions and careers and vocation being added to the shortage occupation. The advantage of having your career, vocation, or trade added to the shortage occupation is that you pay a lower fee and you also pay a lower ISC, which is the immigration skills charge, which everybody pays or your employer pays when they are employing you as a skilled migrant. Now, this is something that I say the community ought to know. So the first one that has been confirmed, they were already on skills, on the migrant route, but they've now been put on shortage occupation, par with nurses and doctors and care workers. So bricklayers and masons. Bricklayers and masons have now been added to the shortage occupation. The next one is roofers, roof tilers, and slaters. The next one is carpenters and joiners. Now, every slide I'm showing, it comes with a code. And when you're applying, those are the codes you use. Or that code will tell you what income you need to earn, and then which eligibility requirements you need to meet. Then the final, not the final, the last but one is construction and building trades not elsewhere classified. This catches almost all areas of construction work because there are many, many areas of construction work which this will come under. And then the most exciting thing is dry liners. So dry liners, I'm sure those of you who are in the building industry will know who a dry liner is. Those are the pictures. These are people who seal the walls and everything. They have been classified as the same occupation code as plasterers because their work is similar. Why? Why? Because the UK have identified these people as being needed in the UK. So the last program we had, we showed people how to register and employ people either here or from outside, typically from Ghana, as plasterers, as plumbers, as carpenters, as joiners, as roofers, and as tilers. What they need to meet is the English language at 4 modules, B1, and as the speaking, the listening, the reading, and the writing. So the first thing that somebody has to do is to go and pass these exams, and you sit the exams at the British Council. You do the IELTS, which is the immigration for speakers of other languages or secured English language test. To bring someone, you need to have a business. It doesn't have to be an old business. It can be a new business. You need to have your accounts. You need to register with a bank. You need to have your certification if you need certification. But crucially, you need to have work. Now, I raise this because if you bring somebody and you haven't got work, you're going to be paying the person whilst there's no work. And these workers are not cheap to come by. It's crucial that we all understand. And then I will go back again. So we know there are dry liners, there are plasterers, construction workers generally, carpenters and joiners. We've got roofers and slaters. We've got bricklayers and masons. Now, as you can see, this captures almost all areas of construction. So if you have a brother or a sister, or a nephew or a niece who has done their JSS, have gone to vocational school, maybe they've gone on trade, they've done the trade, they've learned this. If you want to bring them, there are Ghanaian companies who are registered, and there are some that we are still registering, and they can bring them. But please, as I always say, with this kind of business, you need to be extra careful about who you are engaging, because there's something going on in the community which I don't want to raise yet. And it's, worrying to me that, people are doing stuff which they shouldn't do. But this is open to everyone. The other area that I want to cover is that home office fees are going up. A few weeks ago, I think it's about 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister was forced to cave in to the demands of the public sector who were asking for salary increase. The Prime Minister had fought tooth and nail. Last year, he said over his dead body. Now, the Conservative government caved in because, again, they've identified a soft spot. The Prime Minister said he wants to raise £1 billion from migrants who are applying to stay here or applying to come here. So broadly, the fees we pay are in two areas. The application fee, and if you're coming here for more than 6 months, then the IHS, which is the Immigration Health Surcharge. It is your contribution to the NHS. As we speak, your contribution to the NHS is £624. If you're coming as a skilled worker, a student, a shortage occupation, it is discounted. So if you're under 18, you pay £472. If you're a student or youth mobility applicant, you pay £776. If you're coming in the health sector, you pay £0. But look at it. So from £624 a year is going to £1,035. Now my maths is not very good. I'm not sure what percentage, but it looks more like 50% increase. No, it looks more like 100% increase or slightly below that. Because if you take 624 from 1,000, you'll be left with about £411. If you find a percentage of that, that is almost about 70–80% increase. And I'll explain why I've added this topic. Because almost everyone who is not settled here will pay this fee. Whether as a student, as a skilled migrant, as a family member, a child, somebody who's joining their parents, somebody who's joining their spouse, somebody who's joining their child. These are fees that you will pay. In addition to this rise, there is also a general fee rise of between 15% for students and 20%. I've done some calculations. They are not scientific, but I will show them so that will really concentrate your mind. So for example, if you're applying for 30 months permission to stay on a private or family life route, you're currently paying 30 months is 2.5 years. You're paying $1,048. And then you're paying IHS of £1,560. If you add the two, it's about £1,608. Sorry, it's about £2,608. The $1,048 is going up to at least $1,258. The IHS, which was $1,560, is going up to $2,588. Now, if you add the two, that is about 836 from £2,608. The application for settlement is currently £2,044. It's going up to $2,885 per person. Now, these are mind-boggling figures because typically people in that position do not have jobs that pay exceptionally well. They will be earning between $18,000 and $26,000. Their take home a month will be less than £2,000. If they've got 2 children, they would have rented a minimum of 2 bedrooms. Anywhere in London, they will pay a minimum of £1,500. If they're taking less than 2,000, they will be left with, let's say, £500. You have to save. The yardstick is that you should be able to save to pay for this. But how long are you going to save? Akuya Tenewa has got 2.5 years. Her children, 2 children also have 2.5 years. Her fee from 2,000 3,608 times 3 is going to 3,600 and something times 3, over 10,000 pounds for 3 people. They're not getting indefinite. They're going for limited leave to remain for 30 months. Naturalization is now 1,250. So it affects everyone, even those who have settlement. That is going up to 1,500 pounds. Given that this visa fees is for a single person, if you're potentially looking for skilled work and it's not in the shortage industry or it's not healthcare, you're potentially going to pay a fee of about 9,000 pounds for one person. Why did I bring this? There's a scheme that we are not using. I've got a client who's got a terminal illness. He's illegal. He can't work. He's bedridden. And his family called me yesterday. They want to pay the fee of 2,608. I said, why? He said, oh, we met, 4 of us, we want to pay for him. I said, why do you want to pay for him? So because we want to pay, we don't want, I said, no, but there's a scheme for everyone. And the scheme that is there is what we call the fee waiver scheme. Most applications will be covered by a fee waiver. Because if you cannot save the 2,608 now in 6 months, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to save the 3,000, almost 700 pounds when it comes to the autumn budget, which is likely to be somewhere in September. I brought this up because many people are supposed to make applications, and many people are unable to pay. And for that reason, they are biding their time. They are waiting to either save or waiting for a miracle to happen. I've seen people who have waited and forgotten that their visa is expired. When we started, I mentioned paragraph 38E of the immigration rules that only allows you to overstay for 14 days. If you pass 14 days, your continuous residence is broken, you're illegal. So if you're somebody who needs to show continuous lawful residence, and because of the fee, you're waiting, then it becomes a problem. So my question is, what options do you have? The first option you have is to determine what is the nature of your application. If you look at the case, it's a Ghanaian case actually, it's Gineku, where the case went to court and the court said that fee charges for this kind of cases is unlawful. What kind of cases? Any case which is human rights based. What is a human rights case? Human rights case is any case that is relying on your private life or your family life. But lawyer, what is that? It is an application to stay with your husband or wife or partner or your mom or your dad, or your mom or dad staying with you, or an application to say that for my medical reasons, I cannot go back to my country. That is a human rights application. And this covers almost all applications. It doesn't cover work permit, but it covers wives, children. It doesn't cover students, but students' fees have application fees have always been discounted. And I brought this in because I want you to see the criteria to use to get a fee waiver. Some of my messages will be coded. So just be mindful that when I'm using proverbs and nouns and parables, it's because I'm coding the message. So how can you get a fee waiver? The Home Office have set up their own guidance, but the case law is there. So let's take the one that they have written. They said for you to get a fee waiver, you have to show that you cannot afford the fees, or that you are destitute, or that you are at risk of destitution, or your income is not sufficient to meet a child's particular and essential additional needs. Now, every parent will fall under one of these 4 categories. So my Ghanaian community, if they want to raise the fees, let them raise it. Yentia. Yentia, because there are schemes in place for us to use. And I will show you why. First of all, I cannot afford. You don't say it just by word of mouth. You have to prove it. So I'll take Ekia Tenewa, who earns take home £2,000 a month. Ekia Tenewa is on a 2.5 years. There's no recourse to public funds because she can work. She's got 2 children. One is a British citizen who is 3 years old. And then one is a non-British citizen who is 1 year old. So Ekia Tenewa has to pay £2,608 times 2, which is over £5,000. Her rent is $1,200 because she's in a 1-bedroom apartment. Her utility bills is about £100 a month. So water, gas, electricity. Her council tax is about £120 a month. Now, when you ask every Ghanaian how much you spend on food, almost every person I've asked this question when I'm doing this calculation will undervalue how much they spend on food. So you will have between 250 a month to 350. What have you been eating? Because when we say we want to buy food, our food is 2 types. Our food is the Tesco's one. So we go to Tesco's, we buy the fresh milk, either skim, semi-skim, or full cream. We buy the mackerels, sardines, we buy maybe the rice, and then we go to Dorset Market, or we come to West Green Road. That is why they are not able to calculate their money. But when they come to West Green Road, there is no receipts. So they buy the kako, they buy the kobe, they buy the kontomire, they buy the mankani. And now what I've found as very nutritious is banchin. Cassava is more nutritious and a good source of carbohydrates than even yam, because it's a complex carbohydrate. You expel most of it, or you go and buy your cassava. So Ekia, you've got 2 children, yourself included, you've got 3 people in your household. How come you're telling me you're spending 250? Because there are no receipts or anything. And if you want to do your calculation, typically a family of that size, I will go to the UK survey to check how much a typical UK household of 3 people will spend. And it's about £600 a month. So you can see from the calculation that I've done, the Ghanaian was shortchanging himself. But when you apply the general expenditure of a typical, not middle class, but typical working class household, their food expenditure is about £650 a month. So with the things that I've added, rent of 1,002, electricity, gas, water of 100, that is 1,003. You're buying food of 650. Your 2,000 is almost gone. Your mobile phone hasn't come. Your internet hasn't come. Your TV hasn't come. Your travel to work hasn't come. Your child pampers hasn't come. Your child formula milk hasn't come. And this is why I tell my Ghanaian people that please, if they want to increase the fee, let's all go and apply for fee waiver. The fee waiver is not benefits, please. So I know some people find benefit as humbling. So they don't want to be seen. Even when the kids go to school and they're on benefit, they don't want their children to take school meal. So they give them pocket money. Fee waiver is not benefit. So you take your bank statement because they will ask for it. And if you hide your bank statement, they will check your credit reference. So they will see that you've got this account and you've got that account. Now, my advice to people is that if you know you're going to make, and that's why I say I'm going to speak in parables. If you know you're going to make your application, give yourself 6 months. You will see can you account anymore. Not the idea all day, not fire. Because the guidance notes is that they should look up to 6 months bank statement. For example, you've got mom in Ghana, you do tap, you do money transfer, you've got a sister. Typically, you've sent £200 a month. So they might tell you that if you were saving this money for your application, we gave you 2.5 years. If you're saving £200 every month for 2.5 years, you would have saved about £3,000. So you don't qualify. Please, let's be wise. Also, let's be mindful of what we use our monies for. So somebody does what we call paddy susu. So they do the susu, they contribute maybe £100 a month. It's about 20 people. So somebody gets £2,000. Once that money is come, my advice is that document it, because you would have contributed £2,000 equivalent, or you'll be contributing £2,000 equivalent. So the fact that the £2,000 has come into your account doesn't mean it's money that you have to use to pay for your fees. So please keep evidence of all the remittances you've made towards the paddy susu, the one that is giving you the 2,000. Because once you've taken your share, you have to, until the cycle ends, you will be contributing. Another thing that most Ghanaians will not budget for is prescription drugs. So only people on benefit and certain people will qualify for free NHS prescription. Even if you go to hospital once in a quarter, that is 3 quarters in a year. NHS prescription is about £9.73. Add that in. Those people who have been watching YouTube and therefore do not have TV, if you watch TV on your mobile phone, you're supposed to pay TV license. So budget for TV license, deducted from your income. When you do your mobile phone, you also usually will have home broadband. You need to deduct it. And please, don't go and deduct the Brazilian hair, because that's a luxury. If you bought a new iPhone, which you're paying for, that is allowed, because it is communication. These days, most people have moved away from landlines to mobile phones. Now, I've taken my time to go through this because I've seen the pain that my community is going through, and it's a travesty. There's a solution. So why do you have to squeeze yourself? There's a lady that I'm helping. She actually had to go and borrow for the application fee. So when I heard about it, I said, why did you do that? If you had told me, I would have, they said, oh, people said it's benefits and I don't qualify for benefits. So ladies and gentlemen, our responsibility to our community is to let them know if they don't know. Now, when they come to calculating what we call surplus income, this is what they will be looking at. So surplus income is your leftover from when you've taken your accommodation, living needs. So what do you call living needs? Now, the word they've used is essential living needs. That's health. Even holiday is essential. It's good for your health. You can justify it. It's good for mindfulness. Gym, if you're paying for gym, that is essential because you want to keep fit. It's good for your mind. All these are very important. Now let's look at it. Utilities I've mentioned. Clothing, I didn't mention, but it's part. Typical Ghanaian will say, I spent 200 on clothing. Obwa. Because when you were going to that wedding, you went to John Lewis, you bought a dress for £350. So how can you be spending 200 on clothing? Because we don't budget for these things. We don't know how much they cost. Toiletries. So when they ask you for your food, it doesn't include toiletries. Non-prescription medication. Today, I'm under the weather a bit. I had to go and buy antihistamine. I have to go and buy paracetamol. I didn't go to my GP. They can add up. You need to add it. Household cleaning items. We don't add it. Please add it. Travel and communication to enable the supported person to maintain interpersonal relationship. You are not an animal. You can't stay at one place. You need to socialize. So the fact that some money is being spent from your account doesn't mean that you're a person who is wasting money. What it means is that you're a social animal who needs to socialize. Cultural and religious life. Somebody asked me, lawyer, does tithe paying come in? Yes, it does. My belief is that the Bible tells me that every income that I've made, I have to give 10% to my church. Religious life, that comes in. This is what people don't take out of the expenditure. So the Queen Mansa example that we use, if we add all this, it might give us another £500 because her tithe is £200 if she's earning 2,000. So already she's in the red. That is why if there's £2,000 sitting in her account somewhere, she must be able to explain that this is money that I'm going to use for Z, Y, Z. It's very important that all this are documented. How do you document this? From your bank statement. But lawyer, I don't have a stay. I don't have a bank account. Somebody is providing for me. What you have is word of mouth and a letter from the person that I'm providing temporary support and accommodation to this person. Typically, somebody without stay will be doing what we call bed hopping. So he will be jumping from home to home. The church can give you a letter. Your community, Nana can give you a letter, because if you're a member of Ghana Union and he needs to support your application, he can give you a letter to say that Ghana Union gives you about £50 a month to buy the necessities. That is why you've been able to live here for 2 years without work. Ladies and gentlemen, if for nothing at all, if we can carry this message into our community, that they don't have to borrow, they don't have to struggle. The government has a pot of money. So the 1 billion that Sunak is looking for, let's only give him 500 million. The rest, let him take from his fee waiver. Thank you very much. And this is where I bring my presentation to an end.
Thank you so much, Lawyer Bernard Owusu of BWF Solicitors. For those of you who do not know where it's located, it's at Seven Sisters on Victoria Line. Those who are in London, you take Victoria Line wherever you are and you go to Seven Sisters. Bernard's office is just adjacent to the station or opposite, whatever. You see BWF Solicitors with some banners across the building is there. He has a team of lawyers, skilled. So if you don't see Bernard in person, he will still have somebody who will see you and still do an equally good job. Thank you, Bernard, for this evening. Audience, it's time to ask your questions, put your thought together. Let's engage each other. And if so, we will take a few minute break. We'll come back and then we'll go through Q&A. I am hoping there'll be a lot to ask, but in absence of same, that means Bernard has achieved the purpose of the evening. And it'll be kudos to him. So we will come back in a few minutes and we will take your questions.
This is our world. Here we are in our community. There are the laws. There are the regulations. We have BWF Solicitors. BWF Solicitors, experts in all aspects of the law, family law, civil litigation, all immigration and nationality issues, representation in court, marriage and divorce. We pride ourselves to give you excellent legal services and follow through till we get you the right result and decisions. That is our mutual satisfaction. We have a team of excellent qualified solicitors and support team to help you every step of the way. Our senior partner, with over 30 years of unbroken service to the community, is a member of the Family Law Panel and has advised several lawyers and institutions in many legal matters. He is qualified to practice both in the UK and in Ghana. Come to us. Speak to us. Let us represent you. We are your trusted community partners when it comes to the law. Locate us on the 4th floor of the Anna House, 214 to 218 High Road at Seven Sisters in North London, N15 4NP. Nearest train station, Victoria Line to Seven Sisters Station, exit number 2. We are open for all consultations from Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Weekends by appointment only. Call us now on 0208 493 7340 or 077 127 61884. BWF Solicitors, your trusted legal partner.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left home menu. My son, this is a setup. Who was Spain? Oh, yes. Spain was any secret free. Ha, a Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a member of a baby from Rono. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through tap send to Ghana, and please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's tap send.
Welcome back. I always get excited with this tap advert, especially the end of it, where it says "on take a grant wig," you know. And then you want come Anyway, welcome back to tonight's edition of the Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. We've been looking at how skilled students can switch options available, and those in the categories that are easier for them to do, and those who are not. Bernard has taken us through other elements of immigration rules around family, those who are seeking to regularize themselves, and other things that we need to take care of, fees that are applicable in certain sectors. My hope is that you have some questions for Bernard so that he can take us through in the next 30 minutes with your questions. But Bernard, I will have one I think I was going to ask you. I know I've been there with you, but all I was going to ask is if a sponsor brings somebody, a dependent, and in the course of their time here, the marriage or the relationship breaks down, what happens to that person? What is the how does that person then find themselves in a safer zone, or do they have to go back because the sponsor has refused to support them? What happens?
Well, so you are anchored on something, and if that anchor breaks, then it means you're no longer stable. That is why I said that in certain immigration areas, if you lose your right to stay, you'll be given 60 days to switch to something else. So in that case, they have a duty to tell the Home Office, or one person may inform the Home Office, and then they will give the spouse who is the dependent 60 days to switch. They can also switch to become skilled migrants. They can switch to become students if they came here as migrants or the skilled migrants, or they came here as students. She can also switch to become a student. But it happens all the time. And most often than not, these people become undocumented migrants because they lose their right to stay here. Because even if you had 3 years left on your leave to remain, once it's curtailed, not revoked, it's curtailed, it means whatever is left is cancelled, and you only have 60 days to rectify that. It's a sad thing. We've got a case that we're dealing with, a Nigerian guy. Unfortunately, the wife would not even allow him to see the kids. They came here as students, she switched, and for whatever reason, they fell out. So he's got 2 children with her, but he hasn't got any status, and he's still struggling here.
Yeah, that must be very. Anyway,
there's a question here.
Okay.
They said, so this special joy to you. Asantua is living with a disability and receiving housing benefit and PIP, a personal independent payment, which is paid to people with disability, ESA, employment support allowance. She has taken a permitted work, which is that she's been allowed to work on the basis that, that is not going to affect her benefits, which allows her only a few hours per week. She pays people to do most of everything for her. Can she invite a relative over to be a carer? Yes, she can. Today, I treated the topic of bringing, private household domestic workers, but this does not fall into that category. If you have a particular ailment and that affects your mobility, you can always apply for a relative to come and support you. And there's somebody who's going through, she's going to have cesarean. The flat that she was in was burnt out, so she's got mental health issues with that. She's got 1 child who's 3 years. Her cesarean, I think, is actually next week. So the application is made for her sister to come and support her. She's got a social worker to support her. She's got her GP to support her. She's got her consultant to support her. Most often than not, what happens is that the person coming doesn't have the resources. And somebody who's got this disability, they might have a lot of money, but that money is specifically given to them. So what happens is that they are not able to show, that when the person comes, they will be able to support them. And that is why it's crucial that such applications are done properly with the necessary information, doctor's letter, social worker's letter, and that will be helpful.
Right. Okay. I don't seem to have any hands up.
No. Maybe they want us to close early today. We only got 30 minutes, so.
It's a Friday, so that it's a Friday, but there are comments that it's a very well informative and well done to you, Bernard, for delivering the session. As always, Bernard don't cease to amaze, and he does his job to the very best. So we are grateful that you spend your Friday evening with us. You did approach me. Actually, normally I would be the one approaching you to say, do we have a topic? But this time, as soon as it happened, you did bring it forward. So thank you very much, Bernard. I hope that there will be many other topics within immigration areas that we can probably be working on. Because as it stands now, there's still so many people still don't know categories of leave to remain and some of the in and out of whether you stay in UK or not. Some people think when I have a leave to remain, I can go to Ghana and I'll be fine until I come back whenever I like. So there will be some areas that I'm sure you may have some topics we can look at. As always, thank you very much for your work. And thank you to audience. Tonight has been an insightful, information session. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll be looking at pensions, how you can put something behind Insurances, some of the insurances that you need to put in place as a family, as an individual, the things you need to do to secure yourself. Some of the things that we are seeing now, there's some element of breakdown of some of the things that we took for granted some 10, 20 years ago. Now you take so long to have a GP appointment. Some don't even have it at all. By the time they actually get round to you, things are running out of time for you. So we are going to start educating some of the things you can do to access private care and all those other things. Next 2 weeks, we'll be having somebody to come and talk to us about it. On that note, I would like to thank Paul and Linda from Access Media for putting this together behind the scenes with us. My name remains Nana Kwesi the First, Ghana Union Chair, and of course, my thanks to audience for staying through with us tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Until then, have a peaceful evening, a good weekend, and stay well and be safe. Good night. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada Dada. And then he left home, manual. My son, this is a setup that he was Spain. Oh, yes. I Spain was any sicker free. Ha, a Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a member of a baby family. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on Tap Send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through Tap Send to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's Tap Send. Hello?
This is our world. Here we are in our community. There are the laws. There are the regulations. We have BWF solicitors. BWF solicitors, experts in all aspects of the law, family law, civil litigation, all immigration and nationality issues, representation in court, marriage and divorce. We pride ourselves to give you excellent legal services and follow through till we'll get you the right result and decisions. That is our mutual satisfaction. We have a team of excellent qualified solicitors and support team to help you every step of the way. Our senior partner with over 30 years of unbroken service to the community is a member of the Family Law Panel and has advised several lawyers and institutions in many legal matters. He is qualified to practice both in the UK and in Ghana. Come to us. Speak to us. Let us represent you. We are your trusted community partners when it comes to the law. Locate us on the 4th floor of the Anna House, 214-218 High Road at Seven Sisters in North London, N15 4NP. Nearest train station, Victoria Line to Seven Sisters Station, exit number 2. We are open for all consultations from Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Weekends by appointment only. Call us now on 0208-493-7340 or 077-127-61884. BWF Solicitors, your trusted legal partner.